Okay, so let's say I want to deal with some fractions inside fractions, some nested fractions. So let's maybe start with a problem like this. 1 over 1 plus x minus 1 over x in quantity, all divided by, say, x. And I want to simplify this. Now I can see what I mean by this. Oh, and I'm also going to add x not 0 and x is not equal to negative 1 throughout the whole problem. So we're saying we're not allowing those values. I can tell what I mean by this because I've drawn my lines very carefully, my horizontal lines, but I could write that as well. So there's a lot of things that I can do here. One thing that I could do is I could rewrite this as x over 1 from the beginning. And then that means I have this expression in the top, whatever this is, divided by this expression in the bottom, and that gives me this. Because I can just flip this and multiply the two. I put this in the front, it doesn't matter. I could put this in the back if it makes you feel more comfortable. I'm going to leave it like this. So that's one way to do this. And this way gets rid of some height. You see, this is sort of 4 character lengths high. This is only 2. So I do like this method. If I were to proceed like this, what would I get? Well, I have to multiply this to get a common denominator, and I have to multiply this to get a common denominator. And here I would get x over x times 1 plus x minus 1 plus x over x times 1 plus x. And now I have the same denominator. So what can I do? Well, I'm just going to subtract this numerator from this numerator. And you might want to stop there and ask me, why did I choose to put this in parentheses? I didn't have a parentheses up here. Why do I have a parentheses over here? The answer is, I'm going to subtract 1 plus x from x. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to subtract 1 plus x from x. So what am I subtracting? Is it just the 1? Is it just the x? Or is it the whole 1 plus x that I'm subtracting from x? I'm subtracting all of 1 plus x. So sure, if I have a great memory, maybe I don't need to write the parentheses here, and I'll remember that this x is subtracted and not added. But even that's a little iffy, because what I'd have written on the page at that moment might, that technically is not true. So I'm going to keep this in parentheses to remind myself I'm subtracting all of this from the x. Okay. The minus distributes, and what happens? That cancels, and I get this. And I am now done. Now, I didn't have to do it that way. There's another way I could have done it. What I did here is I tried to get rid of some of the verticality right away, because I didn't like the height involved there. But what I could have done same problem with those restrictions. What I could have done is I could have just left it. I could have just said, hey, I want to find a common denominator. I'm going to multiply this by 1. I'm going to multiply this by 1. What do I get? This is no different, really. I have a little more height here. I still have to remember that I'm subtracting not just the 1, not just the x, but the whole 1 plus x. But here I do have to be careful to make sure I remember what's going on. At this point, I get x minus 1 minus x over x times 1 plus x over x, again like that. So here I'm going to have that cancel. I get minus 1 over x times 1 plus x divided by just x. Well, that's divided by x over 1, and then I flip, and you'll notice I get the exact same thing. I take the reciprocal here, and I get minus 1 over x squared 1 plus x. That really wasn't any different at all. The steps were pretty much the same. I can't say either one's either one's harder. They're pretty much equal. The only thing I can say is this first method, I have a little less verticality in what I'm writing. So it might save me some lines in my notebook. But either way is fine, and either way you'll notice we get to the same answer there. So what are some things to keep in mind? Well, when you're subtracting, make sure you know what you're subtracting, and subtracting a sum of things. You might want to put those things in parentheses first. Also, nested fractions. We want to get rid of them. Let's actually look at an example which is even maybe more nested than this in our next problem.